I think it's coming up soon.
Right.
And also, of course, Dharmak Sabha.
Anything you want to ask, go right ahead,
Okay,
Ashwini.
great, great. So starting right off, I'm going to pretend as if I know nothing about COVID 19. And I'm going to ask you, Dr. Persaud, is COVID 19 a flu? Is it a flu?
COVID 19 is a viral illness, and COVID 19 has taken the world by storm. It has, from the time it was announced, mutated quite a number of times, and now the most recent variants are Delta and Lambda. And we have seen many types of intervention to protect people. And I think that is where much of the focus needs to be. We do know it's deadly, we do know it's easily transmissible, and we do know that COVID 19 has no cure. So those are the three things we need to take away. And with every mutation, notably the Delta variant that has been gaining much notoriety, it is easily more than usual transmissible, and it is deadlier than the other variants. So this is what the world has to look forward to right now and in the ensuing months. COVID 19 really has taken a lot of lives, and it is something that we as a people, we must be very conscious of. And because of that, there are many guidelines that have been put into force. One, ensuring that you wear a mask. And this masking has been an age-old preventive measure. It's not new. So it is one layer of protection. And of course, washing your hands. And you asked me if it was a flu. It's transmitted much like a flu. It's a SARS virus. So you usually get viruses from droplets and touching surfaces, and that's the rationale behind washing your hands. And the other big thing that some have been very good about, others have been ambivalent, and some people have been downright negative, and that's vaccines. And there have been many vaccines that would have come to our own country for us to access. We have had the Sinopharm Sputnik V as well as the AstraZeneca. And the children will soon be able to access the Pfizer vaccine. And you're probably asking, so what about all these things? Well, it goes down to the vaccines that are recognized by WHO, and all of these are. And as I see it, the only way in which we can take care of ourselves and be safe is to be vaccinated at this point. There's nothing else that can help at this point.
You see, the thing about taking the vaccine, now, I am fully vaccinated,
So
but
am I.
hence we can sit here without a mask, right?
Right.
But the thing about being vaccinated is you could still get the virus. And I think because
Yes.
of that, people are very hesitant. Like, what's the use?
So there are pros and cons if you want, more pros than cons. And in life, you usually do that. What are the advantages of making a particular choice and the disadvantages of not making that choice? So, yes, let's start with the negatives. Yes, it is possible that you can get COVID 19, but how does COVID 19 affect you if you're fully vaccinated? One, you are less likely or not at all likely to be hospitalized. In fact, statistics in our own country would have shown that no fully vaccinated person has died. None.
None.
None. That is the statistics, as in zero.
In Guyana, but
In Guyana
okay.
and around the world.
Okay,
No
okay.
fully vaccinated person has died.
And this is which vaccine? Or
This is any
vaccine?
vaccine.
Okay.
Right? And the other thing is that if you do manage to get COVID 19 after vaccination, usually you call this breakthrough infections. The risk of that is 0.0003. I think I have all the zeros right. I hope so. But the risk is very small. However, because there is a risk, as minimal as it is, you should wear your mask because there are many variants. And that is why you have to continue to wear your mask. So it's not that you will never get COVID 19 if you are fully vaccinated. But the big advantage is that death is not in your future from COVID 19 if you are vaccinated. And people say, well, one vaccine versus the second vaccine. One vaccine gives a particular percentage. And I'm saying a particular percentage because I'm not being specific to any vaccine. And when you have the second vaccine, it increases that percentage of protection. So having two vaccines increases your protective cover, if you want to say that, by having two.
Okay, wow. I think with all that being said, I do hope persons who are listening do decide to go ahead and take the vaccine. But right now, there is a kind of a shortage. I think there will be more in the coming
So
week.
the vaccines that are here in both doses are Sinopharm and AstraZeneca. Sputnik 1, the first dose, is here. Sputnik second dose was here and it has been completely utilized, and that's good. It means people are taking the vaccine, but we are expecting within a week and a half, I think, the second dose, more of the second dose.
So when the country is bringing in the vaccine, the government they bring it in bulk, of course. This vaccine has an expiration date. That's why we
All
only have.
vaccines have an
So
expiration
that's why
date.
it has to be coming like part.
No, it is the biggest problem in the world, and that is access to vaccines. Globally, there are not enough vaccines in the world. So we should be very lucky to be people who can walk into our health centers, our hospitals, and our various sites and actually access a vaccine. In some parts of the world, people are not getting a vaccine.
Right.
So we get the vaccines as fast as we can. It's not easy. So literally, when you see vaccines coming in batches, it means that vaccines are coming as fast as we can access them under various agreements. And so whether it's AstraZeneca or Sinopharm or Sputnik, it would depend on the agreement or on the where it is easily accessed. And that's an important thing. You know, many people, especially in the scientific world and the medical world, you will ask them which is the best vaccine to take. And they will tell you a vaccine is the best vaccine. And that is the rationale, because are you going to pick and choose and then leave yourself unprotected? And most people were saying, well, it's only people who have underlying illnesses or only elderly people who would have been dying from COVID-19. We've seen across the world that's not so. Healthy people too have died from COVID-19. And so we have to be very conscious about what we're doing. And I like to say this. When we look at children for decades, children are vaccinated. You and I were vaccinated as children. Who made that decision? Our parents made it for us to keep us safe. Every vaccine at that point in time would have gone through exactly what this one is going through now.
But
Manufacture, testing, and people
but
using it.
isn't that process like a longer one? That's why you have the
Some
questions
some
now?
would have been and some would not have been, depending on the severity of what
Okay.
you were dealing with at that time. And because of the use of vaccines, many illnesses would have been eradicated over a period of time. So now it comes to us as adults to make a decision for ourselves. I don't think I need to say anything else. You know, you made it for the children. So now, you know,
In the future, do you see that happening?
well, I think government, as much as possible, will want people to have access to the vaccine and to have ready access to the vaccine. And I believe that, you know, over time, it can come to that because, you know, it is not coming to us at no cost. We are paying for these vaccines. And some vaccines have very stringent storage conditions. When Pfizer comes, it has to be stored in a particular way. So all of these things are additional costs to the health sector. But I think right now it is open, it is there for people, and I say to you, go get your vaccine.
Go get your vaccine, indeed. One of the questions a lot of parents are asking is when we had to give out consent forms, what will be the side effects when the children take the vaccines?
Fine. Well, the good part about Pfizer, like a lot of the other vaccines, is that we have watched it and followed it being used in a lot of the developed world, notably North America. And we have been able to track those side effects. And the side effects are pretty much what we have been getting with many of the other vaccines. The commonest side effect for all the vaccines, including Pfizer, fever. You can have headaches. Some people have a little bit of fatigue or tiredness. Others have GI upset, which could be nausea, vomiting, but it is not more than that usually. But what we are seeing, and which is why the move to ensure that children are vaccinated, is something called long COVID. When children get COVID, well, of course, it could be fatal too. But what we see happening as they grow or as time moves on, it can affect organs in the body. They can have cardiac illnesses, kidney problems, joint issues. So the impact of long COVID is so huge on the child population. That is why it's important for children to be vaccinated. And of course, with schools being opened in September and that plan being rolled out in more detail by the Minister of Education to guide how that will happen, we need to ensure that our children and our teachers, and of course the parents, I mean, I'm sure you want to have our country get back to some level of normalcy where we can go out and enjoy the things that we have always enjoyed as Guyanese people in an environment where it's easy to see people, to fraternize, to mingle and all of this. And we can't unless our country is at the point where we have herd immunity, which is
Right.
ensuring you have 75% of the population vaccinated.
There was one time where you heard where this vaccine was not approved by WHO. So,
Pfizer?
Sputnik.
Uh-huh.
But they approved all, right? I mean, that's our guiding.
The thing about it is once the WHO gives approval to vaccines, vaccines become available. And the other thing is people need to keep reading on this. Some countries have taken a position to have some vaccines used and not others. And I think in Guyana, we are looking at the overall benefits of the vaccine itself. And, if you keep following the literature, once people would have been vaccinated with any one of these vaccines, it's good to look at a country that would have used a large number of a particular vaccine and then track it to see how, they would have fared in terms of people getting COVID after dose 1, dose 2, or if there were any deaths. And that's the way you track it.
You did say people should read, right? But I think it's important to let them know where to go and read.
I agree with you. And there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I would tell you use recognized sites. Go to the WHO, go to the CDC, and of course go to our own Ministry of Health sites here in Guyana.
Okay, great. And now, one last question. One of the things we want to achieve is herd immunity, but again, the thing people are saying is that by making it mandatory now to go to places and to get business done in Guyana, you must have the vaccine. Persons are saying that their right is being taken away.
So it's not compulsory for you to take the vaccine, and that's a misconception that's out there. It is still a choice. What you have to do, and this is through the public sector, the public sector, you have to produce your vaccination card on entry. And if you do not produce your vaccination card, you make an appointment. That's it. But there is no force that is being applied to anyone taking the vaccine.
So if you're not vaccinated, you just make an appointment. That's it? At all places in Guyana? Okay, I'm not.
That was the public service rule. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So it is you present your vaccine card, and then to immediately gain access. But if you're not vaccinated, you make an appointment. There is no imposition by government on anyone to take the vaccine, but we have seen across the world, many countries are going in this direction. And I think, it is really for the safety of people. While it is not an imposition right now in our country, I think there's so much awareness, education, and so many easy ways people can get the vaccine. Government in Guyana has made it easy. You've had drive-through where you just pull up and you get your vaccine. You've had the religious community doing sites for their various congregations. You've had business communities themselves, NGOs. Everybody would have been organized and in a collective manner, working with their various populations, congregations, captive audiences to ensure that they're vaccinated. So access to the vaccines have been so easy in this country. And I think it must be recognized as a good thing. Because while we are not forcing you to take the vaccine, it is readily available if you so choose to do it. And the reason that we are asking you to show your vaccine card and, we're encouraging it is not only to keep you safe, but to keep everyone you are coming into contact with safe. There are some places that are bombarded by a number of people. And when you have that kind of crowd going there, what are you doing? You're opening people to getting infected. So it's necessary.
I think that's a really important thing you just said, because one question that was asked to me as well is why not only those who are at high risk, why don't they take the vaccine alone? But
everybody is at risk. This
exactly.
thing where people think only certain sections of the population are at risk of COVID-19, that's erroneous. Everybody is at risk. Some may be more at risk, but everyone is at risk. No one of us can say that we will go out there and we know for sure that we are not getting COVID-19. And COVID-19 presents in so many different ways. You could have COVID-19 and not know because you have no symptoms, and you're lucky. Other persons can have mild symptoms, some can have moderate symptoms, and some can have severe symptoms that get them into the hospital stage. And I can tell you, when you get to the hospital stage and you go on a ventilator, there is no guarantee that you are coming off of that. You know, it's hard work by the medical team, and I want to applaud the medical teams in all of the institutions across the country who've been risking their own lives to care for people who have COVID-19, and they have families too. And I really want to say thank you, you know, on behalf of Guyana to all of them who would have been really exercising dedicated efforts to treat cases of COVID-19.
I have one question for you from Diane Eugene. She wants to know, people with Sputnik, can they travel to Canada?
Well, Canada right now does not allow it.
Okay.
And as I said, some countries are choosing to recognize some vaccines and others not, but you can travel.
That's where the discrepancies come.
Right, but you don't have to take Sputnik. You can take AstraZeneca. You can take Sinopharm.
Okay.
You have a choice, and that is the thing. You actually have a choice in Guyana.
What about those who have taken Sputnik already and they need to travel
Well,
to Canada?
I believe, you know, when vaccines first came out, you were only hearing initially about Pfizer and Moderna, and then the other vaccines came on board. So I think it's only a matter of time where countries will open up to all the vaccines.
Okay, Dr. Persaud, I did say I just wanted to take 15 minutes, and I'm sure
That's
we
all
could
right.
go on and on about the COVID-19 vaccine and the vaccination process, everything. There are many more questions, but what I'd like to advise persons to do is to read up, like you said, WHO, CDC, and Ministry of Health pages, Guyana Facebook pages. Before we move on to talk about Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, I'd just like to say thank you to Ramaran Construction Service. They're located at 576 Zilot, East Bank, Essequibo, and they do construction of roads, buildings, bridges, and weeding and landscape. They basically do everything. So if you'd like to contact them, do call 692-7905 or 501-4777. To remember to keep in contact with them. If you'd like more information, you can check out the Meaty Masala page on Facebook. Didi Vindi, Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. Now, you have a lot of projects ongoing. I think the latest one, if my information is correct, is the GWLI. And you yourself designed that building? That's
Not
amazing.
the building, the interior
The
of
interior.
the spaces.
Okay. Which is still amazing. I mean, I've seen it, yeah?
Yeah.
And that is a...
So GWLI stands for the Guyana Women's Leadership Institute. This institute was opened in the 90s, and it catered for leadership opportunities for women. And women had the opportunity from those times to have training in various areas. Now, since I got there, the building, everything was unused. It was in a state of disrepair. And I, as you know, feel very passionate about the opportunities women can have for growth, development, and financial stability. So very early, I conceptualized the way in which women can earn and learn. So the cottage industry initiative was birthed, and it came about when the country needed masks for a number of institutions. So women got onto that program, made masks, were compensated, and I thought at that point in time, it's not enough to give them financial compensation. I wanted them to have more. So we came up with a training component that every woman who participated in the mask making, and I like to say plus 4 men who took part, they benefited from that training component, which included business literacy. And from that, a number of them wrote business proposals because we wanted them to start thinking about starting, sustaining, having their own business. And so of that, at least 8 of them were successful in securing funding, starting their business, and some of them were even awarded government tenders. That's how far they jumped from not being in the business field. And so came WIN, Women's Innovation Investment Network. This now, from the pilot of the cottage industry program, has morphed into something that is huge for women. So this is a program that is run through the Guyana Women's Leadership Institute, and it is open to all women and girls. We have not turned away the men who have also been coming. Some of them are in those classes, and we welcome them too. And the beauty about this program, one, it's free. Two, there is no admission criteria. So it does not matter if you have dropped out of school, you didn't do school, whatever. You have an opportunity to participate. So while you choose a particular topic that you would like to study, like we have professional care, which would be elderly care, child care, patient care, if you want to do that, or you want to do ICT, or you want to do graphic design, or you want to do nutrition. Now, I was very involved in conceptualizing what was offered, and I wanted to come out of the norm to tell women, don't limit yourself in the traditional sense of employment opportunities. So that was one, making sure it was free, making sure that it was open to all the women, all the regions of this country. With WIN, we've had over 4,000 applicants.
Wow.
To date, we have trained just about 700, probably a little more by the time I'm speaking today. I'm speaking about Wednesday's numbers, and we have rolled out this training in a phased way. So a lot of people have applied, but all the courses have not started. It is offered in a blended way, so online or in person. We're not only offering the courses at GWLI, which is one of the class spaces, but we're going out in communities and teaching these courses in person. And so I also said it's not enough to let women have a certificate. They must have a certificate of value. So all the courses that have been offered are accredited. We have partnered with Nations University, so you have UK accreditation. We've partnered with the University of Guyana, and we are working to have GWLI as an accredited center by next year. So these are some of the things that I wanted to see women gravitate to, and they've not disappointed me. They're coming. We're looking at the component of functional literacy because we understand that literacy is a problem for a number of women. And I like to tell women, even if you are in your 50s and 60s, you can still do these courses. We launched WIN in Barometer in Region 1, and I was so happy to see women coming with their babies, some women coming with grandchildren, and yet they're taking part in this kind of course because you should not limit yourself as a female at all, or as anyone for that matter. So from that whole training, upskilling endeavor, it is not enough to train people. What do they do with the training? So the first female-centered business incubator was born. And that, yes, is what I designed. You know, my staff says, oh my goodness, you're so meticulous. But everything from the color scheme to what should be in there to what should the service look like from there. And this was after designing the computer lab. So there is a spanking new computer lab at Guyana Women's Leadership Institute because we have to connect through technology. So the women's incubator, WIN incubator, is open to any woman across the country. What do we do? One, we help them if they need to write or tweak their business proposal. Two, if they have a product that they need to market, we help them to package and market that product. Three, we help them to find niche markets. Four, we help them to advertise their product. And five, we will be helping them to find funding. So we are encouraging women to not only have this idea of owning your own business, but the end in WIN is networking. Network with other women. Through WIN or not through WIN, it doesn't matter. Any woman is welcome. Men too. I have to keep saying
You still
that.
have to keep saying
I
that.
have to say because it's true. So you can go in there and get all that kind of help when you go in there. And in addition to the incubator, we launch the app, the WIN app, and this app now will have all women's businesses in the palm of your hand. You load the app and you can access businesses, or you can find out where they are, what they're doing, women businesses in the country. So if you are a female entrepreneur, and it's empowering the entrepreneurs of tomorrow, today, that's the tagline. So if you have your own business, you're an entrepreneur, and you want to access this service, just come in, register with us. We will link you to that app, and you will manage it yourself.
Come in where?
To the WIN incubator. Okay. Call, email, come in. We will show you. There's a section if you want to do it yourself. We are setting up a computer there. Once the app is fully ready on the phones, you can input, you can update. We will teach you how to do that. You can manage, you can promote whatever you want. It's your space in a digital world, absolutely free, no cost to anyone. And so that service is open. I'm told that the app is now in its testing phase. In a few weeks, it will be on the stores for the Android phones, and then it takes a little longer to get to iPhones. So, lots coming up.
Lots coming up indeed. Any type of business or
Any type of
only
business,
okay?
any type of business owned by women. There's a young woman that I met who launched a page, and this is called Made in Guyana, and she is opening that page to men and women, Guyanese owned businesses. So that's something we want to encourage. I've had a good discussion with her on how because I always believe in encouraging entrepreneurs, young people. So we had a very nice discussion, and that's another page that's open to any business too. But one thing I wanted to do was to tell women they have that tangible support, and so they should not feel that they have to navigate through the business arena by themselves. That support's forthcoming and free, cost them nothing. Just the idea, the commitment, and when you want to win, you have to cross the finish line. So if you start my courses, please finish them because it costs you nothing.
Well, like you said, it's very encouraging actually listening to all that you're saying, that everything is just to physically be there and go through the whole process, but everything is just there like hand reach. Just go get it done. It's very encouraging. It's something really just wow, honestly
Thank
speaking.
you.
914. Can I say that there is a decrease in the number of domestic violence cases we have?
Not really. I wish that would be so, and
Okay.
it's something I want to see. And we have seen the number of cases go up because of the pandemic, because the reality, whether I mention child abuse or domestic violence, people are in very close proximity. Because they would have had to be at home, we would have had a period of lockdown, we would have had that period of people not being able to go out as freely as they wanted to. So people were more in proximity to the perpetrators of these atrocities. And so the reporting aspect of it was not as easy because people didn't have that window of opportunity. Children tend to report at school or wherever they're in an area where there is no one who's doing that. And likewise women. So because of that, 914 was conceptualized very early, and we started that hotline, and that hotline is now has always been toll free. GT&T, Digicel, it doesn't matter which phone, it costs you nothing to call 914. Two, it's professional. When you call 914, it's not necessarily what you think as a counseling helpline. It is a referral hotline in the sense that if you call in and right then you are being abused or you're in a violent situation and you need us to call the police, we will. And this has happened. People have called and have gotten that level of help. And three, it's confidential. Now, and people are a bit confused what I mean. If you are calling as a person and we ask for details, you do have to give those details if you want us to find you. For example, if you are in that problem or situation, we have to know where you are, who you are, so we can come and help or send someone to help. If you are reporting a case, you don't have to give your details. You can simply say, well, I'm from the region or something, if you want to. But a reporter who is not directly involved can just report the case. We have had so far in the number of calls, and we've had quite a number of calls, we have had one child call in. But again, this is open to the entire country, and I want people to get into the habit of reporting. A lot of people tend to put things on social media, and there are many disadvantages to that. Yes, I understand you want to get this situation known, but if you put a child's photograph on the internet, it is causing horrible stigma and trauma to that child. If you put a person up there, it is also making them easily identifiable. Perhaps you're opening them to more attacks, and you're also stigmatizing them. So those are little things I want people to think of. Call 914. And I said police, but in addition to police, that connects you to probation and welfare officers. It connects you to WIN. It connects you to child care and protection. We have also turned the spotlight on elderly abuse. So you have all of our services that it connects you to. And we have started a program called the Survivors Advocates Program. And while 914 has 24-hour service, in that we have people there all day and all night answering the phone in English and Spanish and Portuguese, we have the Survivors Advocates who will be placed in the regions and will be the person who is assigned to a case through 914, and they will literally walk the person who is experiencing that abuse or violence from the time of reporting to the time of prosecution, whatever it is, they're there to support. So each survivor advocate will be given a number of cases. So it's a very well thought out program, and I know you will ask me what about all the stakeholders, or maybe I'm preempting you, but yes, let me stop there for now.
I do know of cases where when persons report, they end up going back to the abuser. They don't take any step to stay away from the situation. They do for a piece of time, but then they go back and then you have to report again. Is there like a number of times you could actually report after being given help or assistance?
So there is no limit to the number of times you report. In fact, I want you to report as often as
Every
you can,
time,
because
even though they keep going back.
even though they
Okay.
keep going back, and I'll address the keep going back thing, but reporting has to be part of the culture of our country, because I always make this point: when something fatal happens, people will say, well, we knew, whether it's family or neighbors or whoever, friends, they will say, well, we knew that this person was in an abusive situation, so we don't want to wait until the person ends up dead. So get into the habit of reporting. And coming back to what you said, yes, you will be frustrated. Sometimes we are frustrated because people do that. And it is for several reasons they do that: familiarity, financial security. Some people have children. Some people are caught in this whole syndrome where they're made to feel insecure, less confident, made to feel as if they're the reason that. So it's a whole syndrome. It's not just one factor. There's so many factors. But at least if that person gets a window of opportunity to speak to one of the officers, to get some counseling, to maybe, and this is where I say, to be moved out of that environment, it can make a difference. But once people keep going back to the environment, there is no immediate support structure, then you will have that. And you're probably saying remove from the environment. Where? We do have shelters under the ministry, and we have partnerships with other NGOs who run shelters. So that is possible. A lot of women don't like to make that step, but it's there.
There is still the stigma to report, to let people know what's happening. That's one. And two, there is that discrimination that once you're married, you're supposed to stay. Once you're with someone, you're supposed to stay with that person for the rest of their life, no matter that. Really needs to stop. So what would you like to say to persons who are experiencing that?
This is a very sensitive one, and I'm not advocating the end of marriages, but I am saying if the relationship, marriage or not, if that relationship is unhealthy and somebody is bearing the brunt of abuse, you're being beaten, you're being emotionally abused, you're being verbally abused, there must be some recourse. You can start in the preliminary stages with counseling, which is available too. You can get that counseling either through the ministry or any other entity that offers it, or even the religious community. So you try in that initial stage to see what can be done to reconcile, to repair. And if that persists, don't wait until it gets to that stage where you are maimed, you are brutalized, if you're killed, that's the end of it. So I want to tell people, don't wait for that. If a relationship has that in it, it's not going to magically change. It's not going to suddenly become something else that you have in your mind. No, it's not. So I will say, leave. And I know leaving for a lot of women, it's the toughest thing to do, especially if children are part of the equation. Our shelters cater for families. If a woman is in an abusive situation and she has children, we have shelters for families. And now with programs like WIN and with all of these opportunities that we are creating, and that's why I thought it through, because I know a lot of women need that opportunity to look after themselves and children. There are lots of single parents out there too. And so it's not just telling you leave and then there's nothing for you. All of these steps are there for you. And I want to say to families, don't be dismissive when someone, your sibling, your daughter, your granddaughter comes to you and say, what is happening? I have had the opportunity to counsel a lot of young people what this happened. And they say their families are not supportive. And if we continue with that kind of thing, you're really consigning them to an unbelievable, hellish kind of a life. And that, what kind of a life is that? You know, I think there should be some care, some compassion, definitely support. And you cannot keep blaming one party. If you want to be part of the reconciliation, the efforts of counseling as a family, but let the person who is being affected know that there is support at home. That's very important.
Very nicely said. One of the things I think women lack who are in these problems is confidence. And if they are independent through, well, there are many projects, there are many ways in which they can become independent. If they can gain that sense of independency, then leaving and making different choices or looking for solutions to whatever problems they may be facing will be a tad easier.
I think so, but it has to do with the way people are socialized, the varying cultures, the way people have been raised in families, how do they deal with conflict. And so we have started a really good program with women and men, and we have started men's groups. So let me speak about the men a little. We are starting women's groups, but we have also started men's groups in many of the regions, and we'll be continuing that effort across all regions. And this is part of our men's empowerment network. And so two of the important components of training, anger management and conflict resolution. And I feel once people are exposed to this kind of knowledge, there are different ways in which they will approach situations. And when people are enmeshed in something, it's very hard to look on objectively. To an outsider, it may seem very easy for that person to walk away from or to get out of. But emotionally, they are connected. And so familiarity for some people may be also seen as some level of security. So it's that security that, needs to be given to that person to give them the confidence. Well, yeah, I can go out there, I can fend for myself, I can provide for my family. And it's also letting them know it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be better for you in the long run because you're looking at life and limb versus, living in that very, very difficult life.
I know there's also Support and Heal Network, which they're doing a fantastic job. And there is also the Young Influencers. I saw Sarah, she was also part of the Youth Parliament, and she got the prize. One of the best, yes. So they're doing really exceedingly well too.
So the Support and Heal Network brings together faith-based organizations from across the country. We have 34 of them working along with the ministry in this collective. And they have complemented the work that we're doing. They have especially been good in counseling. They've all been trained as trainers. And it is our intention that they utilize what they have benefited from in terms of training and give that education information to their various communities. I know the religious community is a very respected one, and we want them to take that knowledge out and train other people. And especially in these areas that we would have spoken about, the young influencers, it was a pioneer initiative of mine, getting young people across the country from all the regions to be influencers to their peers. And they've been doing remarkably well. Again, they have been in a series of trainings. Some would have presented at the United Nations and other international forums. And recently, two of our young influencers, actually three, one from Berbice and two from the Georgetown bunch, they would have presented at the Youth Parliament, and one was the Prime Minister, the other was the Leader of the Opposition. And I was very proud of them. When I walked into Parliament that afternoon, they were all excited. So I was extremely proud of them, and they both got Best Speakers for the Junior Parliament. So well done, young influencers.
Yes, mighty congratulations to all of them. We could go on, but like I said, we only have so much time available. Naya Zamana. But before we get to that, to our sponsors, Rambran Construction Service, lot. You can find him at lot 576 Zilot, East Bank, Essequibo. They do construction of roads, building of bridges, construction of building and maintenance, and they also do weeding and landscaping. If you'd like to contact them, do call 692-7905 or 501-4777. 692-7905 or 501-4777. Or just check out my page, Meeti Masala and Radio Anand on Facebook, and you will see that ad where you can contact them. Dirivindi, Naya Zamana is not really here, but it's here.
All right. So, but before I do that, today I want to wish everyone happy Raksha Bandhan. Today is Raksha Bandhan. It's a good day for brothers and sisters to cement their bonds of love. And also, I want to appeal to the brothers and sisters who have disagreements out there. Life's too short. COVID-19 has taught us that life is fragile. You know, put the differences aside. Today's a great day to reach out to each other. And usually, simple rule of thumb, 8 days after Raksha Bandhan, Janamashtami, so Krishna Janamashtami will be on the 29th of August. And Naya Zamana falls the day before Krishna Janamashtami on the 28th. And I know you're probably thinking, if you're listening, but Ashwini just said, you know, what's going on with Naya Zamana. So we were not able to hold Naya Zamana the way in which you and I like to have it being held, which is at the National Cultural Center because of the pandemic. See why it's important to be vaccinated, because if we're all vaccinated, this is the kind of thing that you can enjoy. So Naya Zamana will be presented virtually this year, and we have the pleasure of presenting Naya Zamana 23, Zindagi Express, and this brings all the talent on stage that you enjoy at the National Cultural Center in a virtual format. It's on Saturday, 28th of August, 8 p.m., 20 hours, and you can appreciate and enjoy Naya Zamana in two ways. If you want to, you can tune in live on Facebook. Guyana Hindu Dharmic Sabha has Facebook page for a live stream, or on television, E-Networks, Channel 3 and Scar TV, same time for Naya Zamana. You know what? Grab your dinner, grab your people, grab your device, whatever you want to look at it on. Sit down, relax, enjoy, and you will not move an inch. I promise you that.
I have no doubt about it as well. One of the dancers, Anushri Kisoon, she celebrated her birthday today, or was it yesterday?
Happy 13th birthday, Anushri. And she started off as a very little dancer. And though she has migrated, I hope she will continue to dance because she was very, very good.
Yes, and I saw her picture. She's so beautiful.
Pretty, beautiful, and very smart and talented.
Yeah. Happy birthday to you, Anushri. I do hope you enjoyed the day. I don't know if you're a birthday month person and the entire month is going to be celebrations, but I'm sure Kumar will make the days very much enjoyable. Naya Zamana is a Bollywood theatrical spectacular. Like that just, it's in my head. So for those of you who are listening internationally, it's a program. It's 2 hours mostly, where you have dances and the background and the sets and this. I think this is the Naya Zamana where we talk about social issues.
So don't be going into it with different ideas because she said social issues.
Okay.
But it's
not going to be serious.
It's the grandeur of Naya Zamana is an assimilation of fabulous costuming done by Trishula Simantani Persaud, who also designs all the sets, and yours truly would script, direct, and produce Naya Zamana. And I have the pleasure of teaching so many talented young people. Ashwini, you were also a product of Naya Zamana. Dharmik Kendra, you made your debut on the stage at Naya Zamana, and I still remember that line. You have a problem? You see that door? Fly through the door. I remember that one.
I'm still called by the name Payal now. Up to now, yes.
So the thing about it, Naya Zamana brings so much of talent from across our lovely land on one platform, and it gives an expression to all of the young people if they're creative, if they're good dancers, good actors and actresses. And, I think once you have the opportunity to see one Naya Zamana, and especially for those of you this time who will see it virtually, you want to be there next time that we are holding it. And this production has even been staged in New York to sold out audiences, and it's always sold out here in Guyana. And usually it's performance with purpose, because all the funding for Naya Zamana would have gone to very good projects, notably Bal Nivas and our upcoming Dharmic Ramakrishna School, so which we are constructing. So, I want people to know what we do. It's not just the arts and artistic expression and Bollywood and theater. What do we do with it? So the funds, would usually go to these projects. And I want to really say thank you to the cast. I am not the easiest director because I try to get the best out of young people because I believe they have so much potential, and I challenge them. Every year you would see them in a different light, or they would tell you, my God, I didn't think I could do this, and here I am. When I said on stage and act, you were like, what? And so it's finding what I think is in people and bringing the best out of it. So with all of that said, watch Naya Zamana. Sit down there 5 minutes before 8 if it's a popcorn bowl or whatever you want to do, and don't move. Just enjoy it.
And it's what's really nice about it. During this pandemic, you're supposed to be home, hopefully. So it's a family event as well. So if you get your family to sit with you, I'm sure you will enjoy every single moment.
So the last Naya Zamana, before this one, people said they're related to the characters, actually. People said that was me. They looked at the person and said, that was me. That was my life. And I can tell you for this one, a lot of people will relate to the characters and storylines.
Yeah. And one of the things about Naya Zamana is that when you look at it, sometimes you tend to believe like, wait, that's Guyana? That's Guyana? It's not Guyana. When you look at the sets and the lights, and by the way, speaking of which, when it comes to performing on Naya Zamana, it's not only what you see. The practice sessions and the preparation, and it's a whole... It's really something, it's a true experience, which it's unforgettable. It's truly memorable, and you learn a lot, like you said. The Guyana Hindu Dharmic Sabha has been doing many more things, many more projects. Like you mentioned, the school, we have Naya Zamana. Something we usually look forward to countrywide is motorcade. If we don't have herd immunity, would we have motorcade? I don't think so.
Well, let's be honest. If we don't have herd immunity and our cases continue to rise, and people are not taking their vaccines, to hold something as fabulous as that, which has become iconic in our country and brings thousands of people together. We're not talking about 10 and 20 people here. Thousands of people together. It would be a risk, so we have to balance out what we want. And if we want motorcade, I will say to you, go out tomorrow if you haven't yet gotten your vaccine and get it done. But in addition to motorcade, we started something last year called Deep Jaleh. And this year, Deep Jaleh will be expanded across the country. And Deep Jaleh is not the moving display that you're accustomed to as motorcade. It's a stationary one. And it was conceptualized because I thought, everybody is missing. They missed motorcade last year. So let's have something to ensure that a little bit of motorcade could never replace motorcade. But look for Deep Jaleh right across the country. It will be done by the Prance of the Guyana Hindu Dharmic Sabha. But Ashwini, I want to join you and appeal to the entire population. Motorcade, Diwali, that's very, very distinctive when it comes to Guyana. So go out there, and if nothing else and you want to have motorcade, go get your vaccines.
It's very important because besides motorcade, I very much look forward to event in Guyana. There's also Kala Utsav, which I look forward to. Kala Utsav, the Festival of Arts, where the countrywide, again, most of the things we're doing it involves everybody across the country, and it's now going international. Correct. It is international, actually. And everybody that participates, not only their journey not ends there, but it really goes a really long way. We have Purnash, you have Vaishali. They're still performing in the Kala Utsav. They participated in Kala Utsav, and they're still performing right now. Well, not right now, but they are. Yeah, so... Yes? Yeah,
so Kala Utsav is the Guyana Hindu Dharmic Sabha's festival of art, and it would have produced so many outstanding artists. And in addition to what we have every year, usually the end of November, the finals being at the Dharmic Kendra and the preliminaries being in all our prants across the country, as Ashwini said, involving hundreds of young people. She was also a product of Kala Utsav. I had the opportunity to be at the first Kala Utsav held in New York by the New York Prant, and it had many of those same persons you referred to. So many names, Purnaj, Vishali, Suchitra, just to name a few. There's so many of them, but we still have so many here. So again, go out there, get your vaccines, and I'm really hopeful. So at least we can halfway say that Kala Utsav will be happening, and it will have to be under stringent COVID-19 guidelines. So young people, you have a talent in music, dance, you sing well, you want to depict
Ramayana
your
chanting.
your group in their Ramayana drama, you want to chant Ramayana, you want
Tassa.
to play Tassa and all. This is the festival for you. It's been a festival that has really, really been the launch pad for young people. And we have the privilege of sitting there and watching them and then looking at their journey after Cloud. So some of them went to Emerging Voices, and then some of them are on the world stage right now, as you said. So, it has been a brilliant initiative of the Guyana Hindu Dharmic Sabha, and we need to ensure that it's continued. But again, it comes back to where we are as a country.
Yes, Vindhya, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we'll have to bring the curtains down here and say thank you so much for being here. I know you have a hectic schedule, but yet you find the time. I always tell you, I really believe you have a clone somewhere, and the other side the other clone gets a rest, and then you come here, and then you just go back and replace. I don't know what's happening, but you do make the time when we all need you. Thank you so much for being ever so informative and here.
Thank you very much for having me on your program today. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. We have long chats, and this is just a little bit
Yes.
of a chat that we're having. And I want to wish you well.
Thank
and
you.
I hope that more young people will be involved in all of the things that we spoke about. I want to wish everyone who's listening the very best for the remainder of the day, a productive week ahead. And I will say to you, be the best version of yourself. My philosophy is, my one I got from my father: be good, do good, live good, and this one is mine, take every bit of your day and make it meaningful and purposeful. And through it all, keep growing, stay humble, and develop a higher level of consciousness. That's not, anything fancy, but that's usually what drives it. So thank you very much, Ash. Always wonderful to have these opportunities.
Likewise. Thank you, Vindhya. To Rambaran Construction Service, remember you can contact them on 692-7905 or 501-4777. And they do construction of roads, building of bridges, and much more. Do contact them. And join me tomorrow at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. for Radio Anand for Raman presentation and more of the Guyana Hindu Dharmic Sabha's activities. There's much more to talk about. Good afternoon and see you all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.